Hello and welcome to Brand X Reviews. So we finally made it to the end of our 13th annual Halloween special, and in this one my co-review of The Core returns. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about horror movie franchises, the best of, the worst of, in terms of our favourites. We don't cover everything, there's plenty of stuff we probably just won't have got around to mentioning that are quite popular ones, so feel free to call us out on that in the comment section. I almost forgot about Hellraiser at one point there. The core had to remind me about that. But it's a pretty good conversation. We're going to talk about movie franchises, some of the high points, some of the low points, some of the best entries in certain series and some of the low points, some of the best characters that stand out, what makes them work, what makes them doesn't. And also, we'll kind of throw a few ideas between the two of us. There's a few films I haven't seen, there's a few films he hasn't seen, so some of this is new to me, some of it's new to him. So we hope you find the conversation interesting anyway. There is a little bit of use of AI in this one as well, so excuses for some of the poor special effects. Yeah, we tried, it just kind of looked a bit stupid. There's not really much you can do with these things, so we'll sack it off, I think. It's just going to get ridiculous. Oh, what the hell, not Topher. Seriously, no, just cut to the intro, play the video. Hello and welcome to Brand X Reviews, and today we have The Core.
Hang on a minute, I thought I wasn't allowed to talk.
Very funny. If you watch the outtakes, you'll know what I mean. Core.
Yes.
So this is today's
The Core.
it's today's Halloween special, and The Core is just gonna like sabotage this in every which way he can. He's gonna say he's never seen any horror films ever. He's gonna say that every good film is shit. He's gonna say that every shit film is good, just to sabotage it, because he's an uncooperative bastard. But that aside, Core,
I've got like a theme. I've got to stick to it. Like, you know.
Yeah. Well, this year, I mean, all jokes aside, I'm taking the piss there, but we did kind of set out doing this Halloween special series this year. We were going to talk about movies, and we did to an extent about movies that are sort of, and it was a good idea of yours, credit you for it, after just slagging you off there, that we were going to talk about films that kind of double as not just horror films, but like, say, they have another toe in another genre. So like, the example you brought up that we talked about, John Carpenter's Vampires, is kind of a horror movie, kind of an action movie. We've kind of gone off a little bit and kind of veered off that a little bit. So what we're going to do today, because we can talk a little bit about that as well, we're going to talk about just horror movie franchises today. Just have a unscripted kind of chat. We're going to talk about like the best of, the worst of, some of the series highlights, some of the low points, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, like I said, this year we've covered a few things. We've tried to keep it fairly diverse. I talked about an album on record that was kind of horror related. We did originally we were going to use a bit of AI this year, but unfortunately it kind of went awry. We did this trailer, didn't we, Core? I'll just play the trailer. This was AI generated. We thought we'll do this, we'll see what happens. Didn't really work brilliantly. Let's just have a quick look.
Get ready for a spine-chilling Halloween special as the Brand X Reviews YouTube channel delves into the most frightful movies, gadgets, and treats that will haunt your dreams. Join us as we gather around the campfire for thrilling tales, explore haunting decorations, and discover the best tricks and treats to make this Halloween unforgettable. Step into the eerie forest where fright awaits at every turn and encounter ghostly apparitions as we visit haunted locations that will leave you breathless. Witness the magic of Halloween as we mix up potions and revisit the most iconic horror films that define the genre, preparing for a night of scares and surprises.
So yeah, that was kind of went a bit off. Obviously, when you're using AI, you can kind of put something in and what comes out the other side isn't quite what you're after. I've tried to use special effects in this video, but this, for example... not very convincing, but yeah.
I don't know. I completely believe you fired lightning at your nipples.
Well, exactly. That is something.
Although I am questioning what the fuck happened to the chair. How he just disappears because you stand up.
Well, yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I'm gonna say just use a little bit of imagination. But obviously, the AI thing that we did with the trailer, it was talking about gadgets and locations and stuff. It's like, yeah, that ain't happening. We don't have the budget for that, unfortunately. So right,
You're going to go on a ghost walk and you're going to just rant about the Earl of Cumberland for quite a while.
yeah. So anyway, point is, what we're going to do is we'll just talk about franchises. So we can talk about anything that's basically got more than one movie. So, for example, in the past we've talked about the Paranormal Activity movies. Pretty good franchise. It was something that kind of brought back the found footage genre because there wasn't much really other than that Blair Witch Project that was that iconic. There was some good stuff. The Last Broadcast, for example. But I think it was when Paranormal Activity came out, you basically had Blumhouse, which had been around for a few years as a studio, and they've obviously found a way to make low budget movies that make a lot of money. So kind of doing what they did in the 80s with like Friday the 13th.
Something like mainstream kind of Hollywood have kind of forgotten how to do, like make films with like a same budget. It's like a lot of these films, like, oh, they ends up losing in millions. It's like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't budget it for what you know, were going to get in. Like, it could be a really good film, but if you've, like, wasted, like, millions on it, like, you're going to struggle to break even.
Exactly.
Whereas if you've made it for, like, 10 million or something, like, it's very easy to make your money back.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Because it works both ways, doesn't it? Like, if they can make films like Paranormal Activity on a low budget, and they're actually pretty good films, depending what your jam is. It's not really everybody's thing, that kind of, where you don't get to see anything. It really frustrates a lot of people. They don't get it. Whereas to me, it's more your imagination.
We did talk about this to, like, more extent, like, previous Halloween. So if you've not seen those, like, maybe go back and look at them, because we go into, like, our thoughts on found footage, like, quite a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I won't harp on too much. I think it's when it's the fear of the unknown as well. So something good about that is they don't have to show you something because it's your imagination that's the worst thing. Like a place where I work, I was doing a thing for Halloween where it was like kind of like Fear Factor, like Joe Rogan kind of thing, where people can do like a challenge, and there'd be like various things like there's a box and you open it up and like a fake spider jumps out, and you actually see it. I had another thing where it was just a cup with a sticker on it that said, "Don't lift up this cup unless you intend to kill what's under it." And some people were disappointed when they picked it up that there was nothing under it. And they said, well, what is it? And I said, the worst thing ever, your imagination. There's actually nothing in there. So some people were disappointed, but some people got that. So certain horror movies where they just play on the unseen, the thing that you don't see. Because that is, from an evolutionary point of view, like one of the most terrifying things, fear of the unknown.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, even if you've not got, like, the world's best imagination, usually whatever you're cooking up in your brain is worse than what you'll actually see on film, you know?
Exactly, yeah. So we've had a few things like when it comes to, like, franchises, and obviously there was the Blair Witch Project as well. That was a good decade before the Paranormal Activity movies. It spawned 2 sequels. Me and you went to see the original back in '99, didn't we?
With the Buff.
Yeah, Buff was so scared he sat behind us, I remember.
Yeah, but very clear to point out that is with the Buff, not in the Buff. We did not go to the cinema naked.
Exactly. Speaking of Buff and the unknown, Buff, if you're out there, send us a message to show that we know you're alive, just to put our mind at rest. And we hope you're enjoying these.
Yeah, we are requesting proof of life, please, Buff.
Yeah, because Buff will be watching these videos, we hope. So, Blair Witch Project was another franchise. It spawned off 2 sequels. Kind of weird. The second one came like a year later and it kind of ditched the found footage thing. Again, we've talked about this before, like the core was saying, so we'll go too in depth on that. But it kind of weird. There's the second one had kind of mixed responses. Well, mostly negative, to be fair. But me and you liked it. You fairly liked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was alright. Although, like I say, mainly because the main guy in it is Michael Weston out of Burn Notice, so I'm pretty sure this is just like one big con.
Yeah.
And nothing actually happens, he's just faking it as like a spy.
Yeah, he's a good actor. He's been in loads of stuff. He was in Wrath of Man. That's a good film, Statham film. But also, anyway, yeah, there was a third Blair Witch film which came out in 2016 or 17, I think it was. Kind of retreaded over some of the same stuff that the first film did. So when it comes to franchises,
tried showing more with kind of like mixed results. You kind of see more, but it's like, was it for the better or was it for the worst? It's like an open question. I'd say I'm not saying that it was brilliant or it was shit. It's like you see more, you'll either like that or you'll hate that. Like, you know.
Yeah. So it's been done with other franchises. I mean, there's plenty of standalone films. I know we're talking about franchises and so on. That's what we're going to stick to. But there is one. I know you weren't particularly a fan of the second one, and we've never really talked about this, I don't think, on this channel. And that was Grave Encounters 1 and 2, straight-to-video films. I seem to... Cause me and you watched these together, didn't we? Maybe it might have been a good decade ago, that, to be honest. They're quite good.
I wasn't a massive fan of the second one, but I wouldn't say I disliked it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, they're pretty good. They're worth a watch, but again, they do kind of piggyback off the back of like Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity, but it does bring something new because they go to like an asylum and there's like a weird sort of time loop or something, or space-time continuum loop. And it does get a bit weird. And for a very cheap film, they use the lack of budget very effectively because some of the special effects look, well, similar to my AI thing before, just like really fake. But it works in a weird way. It's very hard. Now we've also go on.
Just having a low budget is not necessarily like, oh, this is the key to success. But having a low budget and using it well is.
Yeah. I mean,
then it's much easier to make back your like budget. It's much easier, and like stuff like the original Halloween, especially like the low budget in some ways makes that film because they didn't have like the money to show you more. A lot of like the visceral parts of it just kind of worked because it was that cheap.
Yeah, no,
it's like the iconic mask. It's just like, well, shit, we can't really get a good mask. Let's just get a Shatner mask and like paint it white. Done.
Yeah.
And that is like fucking iconic now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good segue, that, to be honest, because we can go into Halloween and because we've been talking about more modern ones. So what we'll do is now we'll just talk very briefly about the three big ones: Halloween, Friday the 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street. So, I mean, we've done a lot talking about Halloween on this series in the last few years because we had the sequels that they started bringing out and we talked about those every year. I know you didn't watch them, but like you said, that first film. Yeah, go on.
No, I was just agreeing with you. Keep going, you bastards.
So the first film came out in '78, and that again showed how to make a good film with a very low budget and a bit of creativity. It spawned off a number of sequels. It kind of went a bit weird. Like, obviously there was the issue with the third film, which was like its own thing where they were going to start doing it as an anthology series, but it didn't have Michael Myers in it, so it confused a lot of people. The core, doesn't like Halloween 3 at all for the sole reason that it's just not got Michael Myers in, and that's the reason why it's shit. Is that the case?
Ironically, that's its least problem for me. Like, I just don't like it that much even as a standalone.
Yeah.
But yeah, like part of what he was saying earlier when he's like talking about me sabotaging this, like I was genuinely like going back through my mind thinking like, okay, it's like a horror franchise I really like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Friday the 13th. No, not really. Like Halloween. I kind of like the first two, but I'm not like, I don't really like the third one, and I've not bothered seeing the fourth or fifth one.
Yeah.
And like the remakes, like I've only seen like a couple of them, and I've not really seen any of the new stuff. It's like, the more I'm going through them, it's like, shit, maybe I'm just not that big a horror fan. Like, jeez.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, you've always said that you're not as big of a horror fan as me, but I think you're like a normie. You tend to like the good ones, whereas I kind of like a lot of the crap ones as well. I'll be the first to admit that. So I do like Halloween 3 for what it is, but I do not recommend that film at all to anyone. Unless if I was on a conversation with somebody and they were saying these are kind of like films like, I like some of the films that a lot of people hate and sort of low budget ones, and if it's a crap film but it's very atmospheric and it's got a really good like music score, I'd be like, well, Halloween 3 might actually be for you because it does have a very good like film score. But yeah, in terms of artistic merit, it doesn't really have much beyond that. It is a bit of a ballsy one, what they do, like killing like kids and so on in like a really creepy way where they put the mask on and then all of a sudden the heads turn into like insects, or the insects start just coming out of their heads and stuff. It's like you don't see that in a lot of mainstream movies, but and Tom Atkins is always great as well, so, and he does a lot of these kind of B movies, but it's not his best. And I'll admit that. I admit you're probably, if there is a objective right and wrong when it comes to is a film good or not, I would say you would win that argument. I can't really defend my stance on that. So
yeah, I think the closest thing I could actually come to like a series that I like would be
It.
No, well, I mean, yeah, I do like the It films, but probably would be the Paranormal Activity films.
Yeah.
But even then, like, it's not something I would rewatch.
Yeah, I rewatch them every few years. Did you like the? We'll come back to the big three. Obviously, we've talked about Halloween a little bit. We'll come back to it, but off the back of talking about Halloween, the Scream movies, I only bother with the first four. I didn't like the look of any of the newer ones at all. Four was a bit of a stretch.
I've seen like the first three, but honestly, like slasher films have never been my jam. Really, like I'm not like say the shit or anything. They're not really my favorite thing. I prefer more supernatural horror usually.
Yeah, because
like I say, I'd almost say like The Conjuring, but again, like I've not seen the recent Conjuring films either. Like,
yeah. Well, like with the Scream movies, I remember back in the day, me and you watched them. I think we like rented the third one when it came out, and we'd seen it for the first time together. I seem to remember those were films that me and you watched back in the day. But again, kind of similar to you. I've not rewatched them that many years since back in the day. So well, that many times since then. So, but I do like them. It's just I don't feel compelled to watch slasher movies. But yeah, that was a good film series because it came out at a point where the films were kind of self-aware. Well, they were very self-aware. Like even the characters, they might as well have just known that they were inside a movie, which I suppose I never really thought about it this way. But the Scream movies, obviously being Wes Craven, were like a natural evolution in the career of Wes Craven, because his last film before that, or one of his last films before that, was Wes Craven's A New Nightmare, which was the Friday the 13th film where it's set in the real world. So the actress that played Nancy in the first film is playing the actress that played Nancy, and Freddy Krueger comes into the real world. So again, it was like sort of self-aware, and the Scream movies are kind of like another weird evolution of that way of looking at horror movies, I guess, like looking at them from the point of view of the person watching the movie, not what's going on in the movie itself. Very weird meta kind of thing, I guess. If you've seen the Scream movies, you'll know what I mean. But yeah, in terms of the Halloween movies, kind of go back to that. Yeah, they were pretty good. The sequels, as they went on, just kind of got worse, and then it wasn't really until 2018 when they kind of rebooted a lot of it and retconned a lot of what went before. We had a good film in 2018's Halloween, and then Halloween Kills, which was a bit divisive. I liked it, but it was a divisive one. And Halloween Ends, which was just terrible. It was like a Christine remake that had been repurposed or something. So that's a series with its ups and downs. We had Friday the 13th, which I talked about in the last video. Have you seen any of those?
Friday the 13th, yeah, I've seen occasional ones, but honestly, they kind of roll into each other, so I'd have a hard time telling you which ones I've seen.
Yeah,
it's that one where he's killing campers in the woods.
Oh, that one.
Mask.
That's the one. Yeah,
like,
that was number 4.
It's like, well, I could probably rule out the first one because that's his mum.
Yeah,
and we can maybe rule out the second one because he's wearing like a cloth hood in that one. Apart from that, there's quite a bit of like wiggle room there. Like at least 2-3 different movies it could have been.
Well, Topher had some wiggle room with the buff, but yeah, no. I mean,
the only one I remember definitely seeing is Jason X, which I believe you had thoughts on.
Yeah, that was terrible. Yeah, I mean,
You see, I like that, but in like it's an awful fucking film.
yeah. I mean, to back up what you're saying you can't like really remember which films they were one to the next, and you've not seen them in years. I watched them this last week, and to me, confusing. When I'm looking back, I'm trying to remember which ones were which. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of them. There's like 10 of them. The sixth one stood out as actually being quite good because I think after maybe the fourth one, they start to look a bit more polished. I'll tell for jokes about polishing one off the side. But yeah, the sixth one seemed pretty good because it had characters you kind of cared about, and there were actual children in it that were a threat. So rather than just being a bunch of like pretentious teenagers getting killed. Don't get me wrong, some of the other films had some pretty good characters as well. But yeah, a lot of the time they were just kind of throwaway, and it became very repetitive. But it was that thing again of making a film on a low budget. It makes a lot of money, so they just keep doing it again and again and again, and it's like a joke that just keeps getting retold every time. It just gets less and less funny, and these films got less and less scary, I guess. But yeah, obviously it was a kind of a Michael Myers rip-off as well in a lot of ways, or at least it felt that way. They were just basically trying to do what they did with the first Halloween movie. And then the third of the three big ones, Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't think there's any Nightmare on Elm Street films that I don't like. I think they're all pretty decent. I mean, some are better than others, but maybe 4 and 5, and some of my lesser favourites, but they're still pretty good. The difference in Nightmare on Elm Street is you've got a villain for everything that he represents, which is terrible. He killed children, but he's portrayed as something who's kind of likable and funny, which is very sick, really. But obviously, it's done in such a way where when you see him, you're just kind of waiting for him to appear. And Robert Englund did like a really good job with it. They just managed to get what worked and not take itself too seriously. And the concept as well, obviously, you know, falling asleep is going to get you in your sleep kind of thing, was kind of terrifying as well, because you've got no control kind of thing. And obviously people have nightmares, so you can kind of relate to that as well. And some of the visuals, especially in the first one, that were very simple to do, where he's walking down and his arms are just kind of stretching out. Yeah, just really kind of creepy.
Also, I mean, I'm not going to say you're like, oh, based on a true story. Like, it's not based on a true story, but at least the concept of like something that comes and kills you in your sleep is actually like a thing, like in mythology and stuff. Because I think at least part of the inspiration is there were like a series of like deaths and stuff. I think it was like refugees or something from. I forget the country. I think it was somewhere like, you know, Vietnam or somewhere like that. And they had this series of like quite a few of them had died, like seemingly having heart attacks and stuff in their sleep, and it was kind of like tied into this.
That rings a bell.
Like belief in a certain like, I want to say an Aswang, but it could be. I don't know. My mythology isn't that great.
Yeah, no, that rings a bell. I do think it was based on something like an actual concept. Not as literal as,
like I say, not based on a true story. Saying like, there was a real no. Like the concept of like the dream demon was based on like, actual folklore. Would be a better way of putting it.
Yeah. So that was a series where obviously the main villain is a bit more sort of 3-dimensional, and people just kind of, they don't like him as in like, oh, he's a killer of children. We like that, but it was more sort of the fact that he was kind of portrayed in a goofy kind of funny, creative way. Now, some of the films.
Then again, there are some kids out there that need a murdering, but actually, am I allowed to say that on YouTube? I'm joking. Don't fucking cancel me.
Yeah. So obviously, some film entries are better than others. So a lot of people usually agree the first one and the third one are the highlights. So the Dream Warriors is very good because in that one you've got the character from the first one, Nancy, comes back and she's a bit older, and you've got this kind of like not kind of like an asylum for young people. And it turns out in that one, Freddy Krueger's going after them because they're the children of the parents that killed him. So he's getting revenge on them. But then in the movies after that, it just kind of gets a bit weird because he's then starts killing like all these different kids, and it's not like the parents of the children of the
it
the
becomes
parents.
kind of just like the town in general. He's got a grudge against.
Yeah, and then there was this.
And then that did lead into the crossover between that and Friday the 13th.
Yeah, Freddy vs. I've only seen that once. I've rewatched the Friday the 13th movies, having only seen them like once before. I'm going to rewatch the Nightmare on Elm Street films, having seen them many times before. I've been looking forward to rewatching them. And then I'm going to watch the Freddy vs. Jason movie, having only seen that once before. And again, thanks to Paul Cage for supplying me with the Jason movies, because I probably wouldn't have felt compelled to watch them. So those are the big franchises. Obviously, there's lots of smaller ones, and those are the older ones as well. And obviously, they weren't derivative necessarily from things that came before. I mean, there's some way you can say like the first Halloween was maybe inspired by the film Black Christmas, which is a good film. That's got a number of remakes that are apparently terrible, but.
Yeah, I can kind of see the point there, but that's also a little bit like saying like, oh well, every single like action film's like derivative of like this action film. It's like, yeah, but at the same time, it's a very general kind of like premise.
Yeah, and it's a unique enough film. It's Halloween as well. We can say that. Now we've got more recent films in more recent years. Like I said, Blumhouse have been doing a lot of good stuff. I sometimes forget which ones they have.
Before we get on to Blumhouse, can I just stop you?
Yeah, very well.
Because another film franchise that I've always thought of with kind of Friday the 13th.
Yeah, very well.
Mainly, not because of theme, but more because of like, in a lot of ways, they're made by the main actor. Kind of like Robert Englund kind of made Freddy Krueger, and I'm not sure you could really have like a Friday the 13th without him.
No,
is the Hellraiser films.
Yes, good point. I missed that. Yeah.
Yes.
And again,
because like I say, some of them are pretty good, some of them are awful, but like I say, pretty much all the time, like Pinhead is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And when they kind of lost the original Pinhead, it's like, yeah, they're not up to what they used to be.
Yeah, I think you're just mentioning Hellraiser because you want to do the quote again. We've done it before, but you can do it if you want from Hellraiser 3.
No, I think we've had enough buff quotes.
So, yeah, no, that's a very good point. I mean, to me, the Hellraiser movies, the only ones I ever really watch are the first 3. Going off the top of my head, so Clive Barker directed the first film. Obviously, he wrote the book, The Hellbound Heart, that the film was based on. He directed the first film, didn't direct the second one, but he was very heavily involved. He was a producer of the third one. He put his name to it at the very least, so he endorsed it, but I don't think he was like that involved with it. And then after that, I think from 4 onwards, he wasn't in any way involved as in that sense. But
I forgive the 4th film a little bit more than you do. Mainly because it's actually like trying to at least add so into the mythology of it and stuff.
I didn't mind it.
But certainly beyond that point, it's like, were these even Hellraiser films originally?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, Hellraiser 4 was at least a cinema movie, so I've got some defence of it. It's just I should probably get over that because I remember it being okay, but I don't feel compelled to watch it. I just usually watch the 3 films.
Yeah, I wouldn't defend it really. It's definitely the weakest of the lot until the other ones came along.
Yeah, because
it's kind of like when you're watching like shit, like given some of the shit that came later. Highlander 2 is not that bad, but that does not mean Highlander 2 is good in any way.
Yeah, exactly. It's in the context. But yeah, the Hellraiser movies after number 4, they're all straight-to-video movies, and every one of them was started, well, up to, all the ones with Doug Bradley anyway, after number 4 onwards, were started out.
You spoiled my fun because I was about to say, his name's Doug Bradley, isn't it? I was going to actually remember somebody's fucking name. And you stole it from me, you bastard.
I'll believe you. So every film that came out after number 4 with Doug Bradley started out as something that wasn't a Hellraiser thing, and then they just repurposed it and said, well, we'll just sell it as a Hellraiser movie and people will watch it, which I guess works because I watched it. I watched all of them. I think it went up to a point where it was around about early Henry Cavill career time when I think the last of them, because he was in one of the later ones, but after that Doug Bradley even stepped out of it, and I didn't even bother watching them after that. But they weren't very good. There is a remake. I need to watch it. It came out a couple of years ago. It's supposed to be pretty good. So
Yeah, I was going to say I've heard reasonable things about it because I know they went a completely different direction with like Pinhead in that.
yeah. Well, we're having an SJS tomorrow. We're going to watch Wolfen, but if you wanted to, I could bring around the Hellraiser film as an alternate, the new one, because I've got it, but I'm just not going out watching it. But we can stick to watching Wolfen.
No, I'm in the mood to watch Wolfen now.
Yeah, that's just us totally like breaking out the video. We're having an SJS. Don't ask what it means. So
don't ask yet. But anyway, yeah, if you want to say what you want to say about Blumhouse, and then I've got some final things I wanted to go over. But yeah.
So Blumhouse to me kind of represents it's a production studio. So it's obviously quite diverse in terms of like the movie, the directors and the actors and so on. But so they've been doing a lot of the really good ones that have been coming out. The ones that are like mainstream that I've seen anyway. So they did some that other people didn't necessarily like so much, like Sinister. But I think did they do The Conjuring as well? I can't remember if they did those ones. But they did the Purge movies.
I don't know. Blumhouse have done a lot because I know didn't they do Megan and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, because Megan, I haven't seen the second one, but the first one was kind of marketed as a horror film, and when you're watching it, it's kind of like you were saying. It would have been a good one to talk about this year actually because it fits in. It's kind of a horror movie and a sort of sci-fi spectacle movie, kind of like almost even feeling like kind of superhero movie kind of thing, like in a weird way. Like sci-fi, but then the second one ditched the horror element, which is kind of the audience that they picked up with the first movie, so a lot of people just didn't bother with it. So yeah, there was that. In terms of other movies, we've done some like individual ones, but we're talking about franchises here. I can't remember.
A franchise that's probably getting started, Five Nights at Freddy's, because that's Blumhouse.
Do you know anything? I don't know much about that. What's that about?
Killer animatronics. Like, do you know Chuck E. Cheese?
Yeah.
I don't. We never really had it over here, but like you know the concept of it, like the animatronic like mouse and all that.
Yeah.
It's kind of based off a game that was based off that concept. It's like you're a security guard overnight in like a spooky pizzeria that used to have these animatronic mascots, and like when you're in there alone at night, like watching the security cameras and stuff, the animatronics come alive and try and kill you, and you've got limited power, so you can only shut the doors like so much and like lock things down, and that's basically the premise of Five Nights at Freddy's that they've transferred into like a film.
Right. Okay.
There's a lot more like background to it, like child murder and like serial killers and stuff. But yeah, I think the second film, or the second film's coming out. I'm not sure. Like I said, I've not been following it that closely.
That sounds interesting, to be fair. No, I mean, I've liked a lot of the movies that have come out, and some of them are standalone films, so I'm going to keep it kind of limited. But they did the Purge movies, which, again, not so much horror. There's a horror element, definitely, to them, but they're kind of, again, a bit more sort of action-driven, at least some of them are. There was the Happy Death Day movies. There, again, the first one was kind of marketed as kind of a horror movie, because you've got like a sort of serial killer that's like stalking somebody, but there's like more to it. And then again in the second one, they pretty much ditched the horror element, but they're pretty good. Seen them a few times. But yeah, that's just kind of recent ones. Obviously, there's going to be loads of horror movie franchises that we're not going to touch upon in this, just for like sort of time reasons, but a lot just reeling them off without going into detail. But there's films like the Ghoulies films, which were kind of the first two anyway, pretty good. Some like forgotten about ones which made a pretty good deal with like puppetry and practical effects. Obviously, films like Gremlins and Critters, they did similar sort of things. Classics like Evil Dead. Return.
Yeah, certainly Evil Dead was as close to a franchise as I think I like, but again, I don't hate the first film, but the first film's kind of redundant with the second film, kind of partially remaking it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those where I won't really watch the first film. I don't really care for the remake, and I've not seen Evil Dead Rise.
Yeah.
Although originally there were plans to tie Evil Dead into Freddy versus Jason. They were going to do Freddy versus Jason versus Ash.
Yeah, because there is a Necronomicon Ex Mortis, which is the Book of the Dead from the Evil Dead movies. You see that in one of the later, I think it was like the 9th film in the Friday the 13th movies, and then there is the crossover with you see Freddy Krueger's glove at the end of the 9th film, Jason Goes to Hell, and then obviously they did the crossover. There's some zombie movies as well. Obviously there's the franchise, the George Romero Night of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead. Kind of got that out of order there, but and they kind of did like a spin-off. And then there was the more recent ones, Land of the Dead, Survival, Diary of the Dead. But there was also like a cousin franchise to that. It wasn't a direct sequel, but the producer also got the rights to make movies, and he did the Return of the Living Dead. I'm just going to cut into something because I just recently got a re-release in 4K. So I'm just going to show a quick showcasing of that. I've reviewed the movie before. I'm not going to get into the technical details, but I'll just show you what you get when you get the new Arrow Video 4K of Return of the Living Dead. So this is the recently released Return of the Living Dead 4K by Arrow Video. As you can expect with a lot of these things, you don't just get the DVD. Although it's still sealed in plastic, what I've done is I've just kind of cut out the top bit there so I can keep the thing on there with the sticker and so on. I sometimes do that. It's a bit silly habit that I've picked up from record collecting. I do similar with those. I won't bore you too much by reading out all the extra features. If you want to pause this right now, you can see on there that's everything that you get with this package in terms of the actual content on the disc. But let's have a look inside because you get some pretty cool stuff. So once you've taken the thing outside of the slipcase, you get another inner cardboard slipcase. As always with Arrow Video, you get what you pay for. Really, you get it's like obviously you can tell the thing's like a hard case to it. It's not in any way cheap, cheaply made. The actual Blu-ray, 4K Blu-ray itself, you get alternate covers. So one of the covers is like that from memory. Let me just double check that. That's correct. So as you can see here, if I can get it back in focus, one of the covers is the same as that. But then if you don't want that, you can have this classic cover instead, and the back of that is very similar to what I showed you before. Obviously, there's 2 discs. One of them's upside down, Sod's Law, and then you've got this one as well. You've got some promotional material there, nothing too exciting. Although if you want to see exactly what it is, there you go. This box here, I'll just show you that just in case you want to see the whole thing. So you've got that. You get this fairly large movie poster, which folds out, as you can see there, in terms of the scale. And on the other side, it's the same as that, basically. It's the classic poster. Quite good. And as is often the case with Arrow, you usually get a small booklet as well. So let's just have a quick flick through. It's the kind of thing that you often get with these things, with Arrow 4K Blu-rays. They can be quite expensive. This was about £30, I think, but you get what you pay for. So there are other franchises as well like that in the zombie genre. Those are some of the quite popular ones. You said there was something you were wanting to get into.
Yeah, cause basically, I mean, before he decided to ditch the whole like favorite franchises premise, I was like racking my brains, like thinking, is there one that I could like point to? And I'm not sure I'd really class it as a franchise, but kind of like those linked. Isn't it like John Carpenter's Apocalypse films, like The Prince of Darkness,
yeah,
thing, and The Fog, and like those kind of films.
Well, the Apocalypse trilogy.
I'm not sure I really class them as like, but like especially stuff like The Fog. Like I think it was probably my ideal horror film because like I do like the supernatural horrors.
Yeah, the Fog is a really good one. We've talked about that one before. I mean, specifically John Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy. And again, these aren't movies that are actual sequels to each. Because I've had this kind of argument with people before where I think I'd said something about Apocalypto is like an unofficial sequel to The Passion of the Christ. And somebody's like, no, it's not a sequel, it's not a sequel. It's like, it's not a sequel, but it's like the same film director, the same tone, the same message. It's like an unofficial sequel. But it's not a sequel, it's not... It is and it isn't kind of thing.
All right, Mr. Pedantic.
Yeah, like Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch. They're not sequels, but it's an unofficial sequel. That's kind of how it works. They did that. John Carpenter did that. That's the point we're making with the 3 films. that he was talking about, it was The Thing, In the Mouth of Madness, and Prince of Darkness. That was his Apocalypse trilogy's End of the World trilogy, because all those three films imply that the end of the world is coming. It's a lot of his other movies were kind of limited in scope. I only mentioned The Fog, that wasn't part of that, but that is a very good film. The Fog was an unofficial sequel to Halloween. It wasn't. Halloween 2 was I think the intended sequel, but you could say all John
Carpenter's.
I think
the idea was like he was going to do 2 with Myers, and then he was going to do off like branch out into other things, which I kind of appreciate that. Like I said, I just didn't like Halloween 3 for unconnected reasons.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. We've talked about
like another
go on.
Series of films that I really like. I kind of like classic British horror films. Like Hammer horror films. I grew up on those and I fucking love them.
Good point. Good example.
Like if you got Christopher Lee as Dracula, I'm fucking there.
See, I've never watched any of them. Maybe I should ditch doing this Halloween series. I don't have the street cred anymore because I've never seen any Hammer horror films.
You see, I grew up on those. But yeah, like the old like Dracula films and stuff. Certainly more the Dracula films and the Frankenstein series. I also quite liked, although you'd be the first to scream, but they're not films, the Quatermass. Like the Quatermass Experiment, Quatermass 2 and Quatermass and the Pit.
Was that BBC?
They're more like TV films.
Was it BBC that did that?
Yeah. It was kind of back in like the 50s, 60s. It's kind of like back in the like Doctor Who era. It's a very similar kind of premise.
Yeah.
I said rather than like an alien, it's like just like a scientist guy who's like investigating like weird shit that's happening.
Yeah. It's surprising some of those old films, they weren't like actual like movie films. I mean, I've got an example here, the original 1984. In fact, Peter Cushing was in this, and I've got a BFI version of that on Blu-ray, and it's a TV movie. Obviously not horror as such. But yeah, I bet there's a lot of gold out there that I've never seen. So something like that, I might have to check that out, to be fair. What's the concept of Quatermass?
Basically, he's like a scientist working for the British rocket group. I know one of them, they kind of send this shuttle up into space, and it comes back, but like most of the crew are missing, and like the guy who's come back is like changed and he's weird. And he's basically like taken over by an alien intelligence. And Quatermass and the Pit is another one I remember very well. They're kind of digging out these, like a new subway tunnel. And they find this like weird thing buried in the ground, like an alien like craft or something. And it's all linked to like the weird shit that's going on around it. Like anything in it must have been dead like centuries, like millennia ago, but like there's some intelligence there.
That sounds cool.
And like people keep seeing these weird like hallucinations, and like I say, pretty good films. I kind of like them. Like I say, it's very early Doctor Who kind of vibe to them.
Yeah, I'll have to check them out. They sound pretty good. I've heard of them, but I didn't really know much about them.
Like I say, I've seen the first one, and I've seen Quatermass and the Pit.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Because I must admit, I was looking into them recently, because I'm like, I haven't seen those for fucking years. I need to watch them again. Yeah,
well, look them up. Now, we've talked about a few other ones. There's obviously like monster movies, and we've talked about the Tremors movies before, for better or for worse. There's obviously some entries are better than others. Some big ones like Jaws.
I mean, that is definitely a series I've seen a lot of. Because I've even seen like the defunct TV series they tried to do.
Yeah, because we talked about that a few years ago. There was the Jaws movies. Obviously, the first one he's just terrifying. The sequels, they kind of get worse as they're going along. There's a few sort of weird ones. Again, Maniac Cop trilogy. We talked about that a few years ago, didn't we?
Child's Play.
Yeah, again, that's another one I've never seen. I've heard good things.
You've never seen like shit. I am genuinely surprised there.
Yeah, no, I need to check that.
But yeah, no, that's a good one. I'd recommend Child's Play.
There was a thing, wasn't there, with, I think it was the third movie, because that got blamed for inspiring this murder that happened in the early 90s where these kids killed a little boy. And I think the Child's Play 2 or 3 was like blamed because they had seen it, and that film got like banned from. I think you could rent it, but you just couldn't buy it or something. It was a bit weird in the UK. In terms of other movies, we mentioned before the It movies. Obviously, there's the first movie is a TV movie, it's just one film, but we call it a franchise because then they did do the remake. Well, not the remake, but like another adaptation from the book, which was in 2 parts. Was that Blumhouse? I can't remember.
Another series of films. I'm not sure if you'll be familiar with any of them, but what they call like the Full Moon, like
No.
films. They were done by like Full Moon Video that were like basically they made their entire run on like VHS kind of rental type stuff.
Oh yeah.
There's quite a few of those, like the Witchcraft and stuff like that. I think they may have done the House films. I could be wrong on that. I know they did Puppet Master.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've not seen them.
Like basically the killer puppets, not like Mind Control. I think there's another one with a similar name.
Yeah. Maybe some year, I've just mentioned it a few minutes ago, but we could do a Halloween special. We talk about the Critters movies because they were pretty good. The first 2 were very good. 3 wasn't so great, and then 4 was just a little bit better than the third one. I think the 3 and 4 were back to back. But then they did another one a few years ago. I saw it once. I need to rewatch these films, but Critters Attack, which was a pretty good film. It was straight to video, and it was made by the fans for the fans, from what I understand. And it kind of shows, because I remember watching and thinking, this is actually like pretty good for what it is. I don't know if you've seen Critters Attack. About 5 years ago.
That is actually news to me. I've seen all the other Critters films. I'm pretty sure I watched some of them with you, but I've not seen that one.
I think there might even be another film that came out, but I don't think it's available, at least in the UK. It might have been like a streaming movie or something. And I think there might even be some kind of like TV series, but again, it's like a web series from what I've heard. It's kind of difficult to get hold of. A few other recent movie franchises we've had that were quite good. A Quiet Place. Well, the first 2 were good, with Emily Blunt. She was decent in that. It was a good concept. The third film, I do not recommend that film. I thought it was absolute shite. And it was a shame because it was basically like day 1. So it was like, oh, good, we get to see the backstory as to what happened. No, you don't. You just get to see a story about somebody, like a new character, and stuff's kind of going on in the background. It doesn't really focus on it too much. It's a bit of a shame, really. But the first 2 were very good. Anyway, have you seen those?
Honestly, I'm not sure.
Tell that as a no. I thought we'd lost you.
Yeah, sorry, I got distracted. Sorry.
You were cracking one off again on the video. I keep telling you not to do that.
Not on video. Wait a minute, that's not what I should have been denying. God damn it. Deliberately joking there.
Yeah. So we'll start to wrap this up, but unless there's anything else, like I say, feel free to throw in any other.
That was all I've got. Like I came up with some that you hadn't thought of, so I did my job.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, there's still plenty of like really good ones. Poltergeist. I mean, the third one's not very good. The remake was a bit like whatever. But 1 and 2 are very good. Poltergeist, and again, it's another kind of Steven Spielberg directed, produced movie. That first one, and again, it's just kind of the film Poltergeist is basically, somebody described it. It's like the whole film is just like the opening of the Ark in Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's just like the whole movie is like that. It's a good way of putting it. We could talk about other things. We could talk all day. I mean, there's so many. There's going to be
we'd be here until like next week at this rate.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we've covered quite a lot there. Anyway, like I say, we just wanted to do like a very broad video today for Halloween itself. So we hope you've all enjoyed it, and so we'll just call it a day. Any final thoughts from the core?
I don't know. I mean, I've been introduced to true terror. It was a nightmare. Like somebody put a reform leaflet through my door. I'm still scarred.
Oh yeah, in fact, I've got a clip of that. It may or may not have been me, but we've got the video evidence. I'll just insert that video here of.
I mean, I was having to go around to FB and start crying to him. I don't know what I thought that was going to do, but I had to do it.
He is the offending scene. Right, here we are for the Halloween BXR Christmas Special, and we're at the cause. We're going to put this to his door. He's not going to be amused. Right, Cor, you're getting a leaflet, you bastard. This'll teach the cunt. I'll teach him. So yeah, I'll try not to do that again to your car. I got confused in the video as well as to whether it was going to be the Christmas special or the Halloween special. So I just said it was the BXR Halloween Christmas special. I don't know how that works, but it is what it is. Right, so yeah, well, like I say,
I don't know. We review like a Christmas Nightmare or whatever that Halloween Christmas movie is.
Oh, you mean A Nightmare Before Christmas?
Nightmare Before Christmas. That's all.
Yeah, no. No, well, like I say, if there is anything, if anybody's still with us watching this, and you can think of any other movies that we've not watched, we've not mentioned here, throw them in the comment section by all means. We acknowledge that there's going to be plenty out there, but I think we covered some good stuff. Fright Night 1 and 2. That's again, that's another classic.
Okay, seriously, we'll be here all night. Stop it.
The Fly. Now, these are all ones I've talked about in previous years, to be fair. So, right, I'll call it a day there. Hope you've enjoyed this year's Halloween special, the 13th annual Brand X Reviews Halloween special. We will be here next year for the 14th, I'm sure. And Buff, if you're watching this, let us know that you're alive, man. Seriously, we haven't had any responses from you.
Yeah, just a picture of you and like today's newspaper. That's all we ask.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for watching.
In case you're saying like, "Now we just started recording. Damn it! I'm gonna restart."
And by saying that, you just made a noise as I started recording, so now we've got another outtake.
Motherfucker! Like, that is your fault.
Yes. Right, one sec.